Hello friends and viewers, today we'll be doing a brake bleed job, and I've decided to try to attempt this without removing the wheels. So that might turn out to be a mess. We'll see what happens, and what I've done is I've connected off camera because I wasn't sure how long that was going to take. So we'll be using the liquid vac to create suction so that we don't get air into the system, and we'll suck some of that brake fluid out. And we'll be adding this one because you never want to let the brake cylinder run dry, ever. And this car uses brake .4 brake fluid, so that's what we'll be using. And obviously we'll be draining it. So let me show you how I've set it up, and it does take some contortionism, so be forewarned. So here we go.
Let's see how well you can get a look at that valve. And I mean, there's not much to see there, even if you didn't get a good look. It's just a little bleed valve that is hopefully protected by this cap, which I do have, so it doesn't get dust and dirt in it. Then I adapted a little silicone hose because this hose is a little too small. I loosened it with a 10mm ratchet, which for my car's 10mm, the bleed valve. And now I've created some suction here, but I haven't opened this up to allow suction to begin yet. So let's do that right now and see what happens. Just adjust the camera here. I see a little brake fluid in there already. I think some suction is getting through. So let's see what happens. I do see some suction because I see, and here we go. I'm starting to see fluid.
So at this point, I am just opening the liquid vac valve to allow it to drain the old fluid out of the system. And I just wanted to say that this is just a maintenance thing I wanted to do because the brakes were a little spongy, and for all I know, this car hasn't had it done in years.
Okay, so here we are at the brake master cylinder, and one thing that people do sometimes is they'll suction this off with turkey baster to get rid of the old fluid, but since we're bleeding it, we might as well in my opinion, we might as well drain the old fluid through the system, because I actually did put new fluid in there before, just as part of maintenance. When I first got the car, I suctioned off. I cannot open this right now. Okay, so that was really frozen on there. I really had to apply all my pressure to get it off and also to not break the plastic, which I did successfully, so good. So now, as you can see, we are bleeding a little bit of fluid, so we're gonna just continue doing that, and we have the new stuff right here. So you can see that some of the old fluid being sucked out is pretty nasty, so we're gonna pull some more by opening this valve. Problem with this valve is if you twist it this way, the whole thing opens and just lets air in, which we don't want, so I gotta hold it with 2 hands just so I can get that valve open. So I'm just gonna put you guys down here. And let's drain some of that old fluid into the system. So here we go. There we go. Just making sure you guys could see that, yeah. And looks like there's a bit of air in there too. Okay, I'm satisfied. Now that's a nice clean color, so we can stop the bleed there. Okay, the first one is complete. All I did was get that hose off that you see lying over there, right there. I took it off, and there's that little black cap that I showed you earlier. I popped the black cap on to prevent dust from entering the bleed hose, and that's it. So now we're going to do the front left wheel, and then we're going to go in like a star pattern. So back, then we're going to do the front left, then we're going to do the back right, and then the front right. I'm sure there's lots of different ways of doing it. I'm doing it like this because it's most convenient for me. As you can see, there's a street on the other side. Okay, here we are at the right front wheel, but since we have the car to assist us, we're going to turn the wheel to the right of the car so we can get better access to the system. Alright, I'm sure you guys heard that squeal, and that just means there's another project on the way. The first thing we'll probably do is try to bleed the steering fluid and put some kind of protectant in there. Although it didn't sound like a groaning of the pump at all. I think this has more to do with the steering system itself in terms of maybe the rack and pinion or the tie rod. So we'll have to take a look at that. Okay, this is a very interesting system, and I'll show you what I mean by that. It's got two. I think maybe this is a Volvo thing. Maybe you guys will let me know in the comments. But it actually has, it's got, there we go, focus, focus, focus. 2 bleeder valves and 2 brake hoses. Okay, so those things are frozen solid, and actually a 12 millimeter it seems in the front. So interesting that they would have a different one in the front and back. Alright, so I just loosened it, and it took quite a bit of force. I loosened the top one first, and we're gonna bleed it. Let me show the attachment, and then we're gonna switch to the right one. I'm just being careful here not to get run over by cars, which is a big concern of mine. So let me see. I don't know if you can see that, but basically it's connected, and now we're gonna open the valve and give it some suction. And we need to bleed just a little bit, I think, because the fluid doesn't look that dirty to me. Let's give it a go. Just watching the fluid here, the level here. Okay, I think that's enough for this one. I'm just gonna close it up while it's still sucking it. And you can hear that that is creating a pretty good suction. So we're gonna just hand tighten that now. Good. Put that cap back on. It's clean. Now we gotta loosen the other one. I think the WD-40 helped. Afraid to apply a little too much force, you know, because I don't want to strip. That would be a bad day, right? Okay, it's bleeding. We stick our tube on, close this thing. I think about 12 is enough. We're dealing with a much more sensitive system. So here we can see that the section is started. Just checking the level. Loosen that a little bit more, maybe. Okay, I think that's good. Get that off. You hear that it's sucking, which is great. Just hand tighten that. We got our cap here again. All right, the front left brake is done. Okay, here we are at the back left one. I'm not going to bore you with too much of the details because it's pretty straightforward. It's just like the other one we did. So it's just about getting under there, getting out the cap, loosening it. I believe the back one is a 10, so we'll switch back to the 10mm for whatever reason. They're different, I have no idea.
I just took the cap off. Make sure you remove that carefully. Actually, this one is cracked, which sucks. But yeah, it'll still do its job. But I will get replacement ones so that you can see right here it's cracked. So I'll get some replacement ones, maybe some silicone ones, because I think they would tolerate that stuff better. As you know, the substance itself, the brake fluid, is very nasty stuff. So you want to wash your hands very thoroughly and not get it on any paint or anything. It eats away at everything.
Okay, I thought that was going to be an interesting. Boy, was I wrong. So this other bleeder valve turned out to be a completely different socket. I had to switch to like from 10mm to 3/18. Just, I don't know, some other one that I found in my set, luckily, because none of the ones I had in this one were working. So somebody must have switched out the bleeder valve at some point. So here we are. We're going to start the suction. And yep, there comes the fluid. Some of it pretty nasty by the color of it. It's supposed to be clear. I think that's enough. It's starting to look rather clear, at least from where it's coming out. Here it's looking really filthy. But that's already down the pipe. So that's looking good, and I'm gonna shut that one off.
So here I'm just tightening the bleeder valve back up and talking, but obviously you can't hear me. Nothing important is happening at this point, just tightening of the bleeder valve with the 3/8.
Again, on this right side there are 2 bleeder valves. So there we go. And I'm not so sure that. Okay, these are pretty frozen, just like the other ones. So we're gonna spray down with some WD-40. I prefer the PTF substance because I don't like using silicone stuff around the engine compartment bay thing. You don't want silicone to get into your engine. So it's something that it doesn't mix with the oil or something. It creates like dry spots within the engine, I think, and it also kills sensors. For example, your oxygen sensor. You know, would not do well with silicone on it, so we're gonna keep that away. I'll let that work for a moment. Okay, I couldn't get it open with my little wrench, so I had to find this bigger one in my trunk, and this one is the 7/16, and that'll, I guess, be the same as your 10mm one. So let's just. It's already dripping. Get that silicone hose on there that fits really well. I got that one off IPD for just as a vacuum hose. Give this a few more pumps. And open the valve. And here we have some dirty fluid coming out. Pretty dirty, I think. Looking good. Still kind of dirty. Give it a few more seconds. Still kind of dirty. Check the fluid. We're good from this side as far as I can tell. We're definitely not running dry. Alright, and now we're gonna just hand tighten that one. So it doesn't bleed. Change our socket to tightening. I hear that suction. That's always encouraging because that means that we are okay. Just hand tighten that. Good. Get our cap back on. All right. So now there's one more because there's two in a Volvo. So switch the socket back. Don't forget.
So I'm just going to fast forward this part because I'm doing the same exact process with the other bleeder valve, and there's no point in rehashing that.
It's just an awkward position.
At this point, the second valve was not letting any fluid out, even though I loosened the valve and topped off the brake cylinder. But after pumping the Liquivac a whole bunch, I had created enough of a vacuum to break the obstruction up and get the clear fluid flowing again.
Okay. And now we just want to make sure that brake cylinder is, we actually drained a lot on that one, you can tell, see? So we're gonna just make sure that the brake cylinder is full by topping it off. We have the correct. So now, after you've done this, you want to check that there is no leaks. And next time before you drive, you're parked like me on the street, make sure you check this reservoir before you drive, just to make sure. You know, you can never be too safe. You got to make sure that this is full and that you're good. We've bled them pretty well, I think. We used up a lot of this liquid too. Okay. Brake fluid does not sit well because it is, I believe the correct word is hygroscopic, which means that it absorbs moisture from the air. And once it has absorbed too much moisture, let's just tighten that because that was too tight last time. And now I just gotta clean up. And like I said, before you drive next time, make sure that you're topped off, that there was no leak, because you do not want to get behind the wheel and find out that you have no brake fluid, because that will be a bad day. Okay, let the engine work for a few seconds, and then we can try the brake pedal, which actually feels a whole lot better now. So I'm guessing there might have been some oxygen in the system that I have essentially bled. So it's just a lot firmer of a feel right now. Really much more resistant, and I'm hoping next time I drive it will be a much better drive. So thank you for watching. Please follow, subscribe, and comment. Let me know what you guys want to see next. So please join me next time on next DIY. Have a great day.